I'll tell you about one of the weirdest people I ever met, right? I went to university with a girl called was Vietnamese. I'll tell you 3 interesting things about Number 1, once took me aside and said, "Hey, Alexander, you know how you do comedy?" And I said, "Just about." And she went, "Well, if you ever want to do an impression of an Asian accent in one of your comedy shows, do an impression of my accent specifically, because I've grown up in a lot of different Asian countries. I've moved around a lot. I've picked up a lot of different dialects from different places. People from where I'm from can't understand where my accent comes from. So if you ever want to do an impression of an Asian accent, I'm giving you permission, Alexander, to do an impression of my accent specifically. Now, if you want to know how to make a comedy audience feel uncomfortable, imply that you might be about to do a racist voice. And I'm not going to, despite what you want, sir. Second interesting thing about it, the hunger for it in his eyes. Second interesting thing about was absolutely insistent that men are at their most attractive when they are 15, that is 15 years old. Atmosphere in the room has changed now. Do the pedo's voice. Not going to, mate, I'm not going to. Third interesting thing about his sister was a tattoo artist. Now, I don't know if you know anything about the way they used to train tattoo artists, but pigskin, basically, they practice on pigskin, because that's how much we've fucked over animals, is we're doodling on the bits of their corpses we've got left over. Can you imagine dominating other species more than doodling on the bits of their corpses we've got left over? That is a massive... If you were kidnapped by a serial killer, right, and it could happen, right? It will happen. If you get kidnapped by a serial killer, right, and you're tied up in his basement, right, all cold and naked and afraid, right, in his basement, you're cold and naked and afraid, and your little winky's all shriveled up because it's all cold and dank. It looks like a little sort of like a slug, really resting on an acorn, right? It's all cold, and he's not letting you go to the bathroom, so you've had to pee down your own legs, right? So you've got really cold, pissy legs, and you're tied up. This has never gone on this long. I'm just getting a vibe, right? And so you're tied up in the basement, and if that serial killer came in and he said, "I'm going to take off all your skin," and you said to him, "What are you going to do with my skin?" And if he said, "I'm going to practice the Mandarin symbol for peace over and over again," you'd be pissed off, wouldn't you? You'd at least make a sex mask out of me, you know, just make a lovely sex mask, you know. Rosy little cheeks. Thanks for coming. But his mother said, "I'm not spending good money on pigskin when you've got so many relatives." So there was an entire Vietnamese family, apart from who went to university in England, covered in shit practice tattoos. So Nan's got like a flaming skull on her neck. Dad's got the American flag across his chest. And I don't know about you, but the emotional scars that my parents have left me with, I'd fucking love to have a doodle on them for an afternoon. Just right on my father's massive forehead. And it is massive, because look, right? This is why he doesn't trust authority figures.